Africa. Of course, I refer to Kofi Bento. What a pleasure. Good morning to you, Kofi.
Good morning, Kojo.
All right, then, let's get started. Now, I suppose it's difficult to lump the three separate issues together because they are unique and individual. However, it does raise a general question of how Ghana pays its workers. I'd love your preliminary thoughts on that, Mr. Thompson.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me tell you a story. So many years ago, I was invited to serve on the board of a public sector organization, and honestly, I was pleased. I thought this is my chance to change Ghana. I've been talking on the radio. I've been talking economics. I've been talking this. I'm going to change Ghana. So I go in there. We start with strategic plan. We'll do this. We'll do that. Talking. I'm going to shake this place up. And then about a couple of months into the, our tenureship, they said, you're traveling, you got to go, you've been booked on a course to do something somewhere in Europe. And for me in the private sector, I'm the key man. I've got to sign checks, I have people to see. So I was very, very, very busy up to the point the day of travel. And, I rushed to the airport, straight from work, rushed to the airport. Got on the plane. Of course, it's business class. I sat in business class, pressed the seat, seat comes out, it's a bed. And I lied there and I raised my hand and I said, madam, don't disturb me. I don't want to be disturbed. So, and I slept like a baby all the way from Accra to Amsterdam. Schiphol. So we get to Schiphol, I go to business class lounge, the whole thing is laid out. And just as I'm about to tuck into my scrambled eggs, one of the senior managers approaches me. And he says, oh, Mr. Thompson, and when you're on these boards, sometimes they treat you like a demigod. And he says, Mr. Thompson, I've got something for you. I think, okay. Here's him holding this envelope, which was quite hefty. And he hands it to me. And I'm thinking, okay, what a nice person. We're going on all these expense-paid trip. And he's actually spent the trouble to print out the course material for me. When I opened it, I looked inside, turned to the chairman and said, hey, chairman, about the boy.
What does that mean?
I said, hey, chairman, they're going to catch us. Those were my exact words. And the chairman just looked at me and smiled. I said, chairman, they're going to catch us. I looked inside. I think, Jesus, all this money for a 4-day trip? Anyway, the issue is, it's not how much they are paid. Let me give you and I'll tell you something else. 105 million euro yet. Paul Pogba is competing with Grealish to become the worst player in the Premiership. Grealish, as at now, is costing Man City $21 million per goal. If you're a Man U supporter, how do you feel? If you are a Man U supporter, how do you feel? So the issue is not how much they are paid. The issue is that they don't do anything for it. And I can assure you, in the 4 years that we're there, we did strategy. I did strategy, facilitated strategy. Nobody asked us anything. The trips carried on. And that is the issue. The issue is not the money, it's that they don't do anything for it. If you're a Man U supporter, how do you feel? 105 million euro later without bonuses. But you see, the problem is that it's very, very, very difficult for them to perform. It's impossible. Because when they get there, they are appointed because it's a reward.
Even with a board?
Yeah, it's a reward. Yes. Even with the board, sometimes can be a reward. It's a reward because of something you have done. Let me check. Let me tell you. Let me check. I checked the dictionary definition of reward. A reward is a thing given in recognition of service, effort, or achievement. They've done the work already. What work did they do? They were a serial caller. They are the sister of the serial killer's nephew who he met when he was in class 2. It's not even funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's a reward. He was a serial killer. He cooked for delegates. When the people came to his region, he provided the petrol. When the people were doing constituency elections, he provided the chairs. Constituency elections, when the chairman, it was raining, he had the umbrellas. So he's done the work already. So what do you expect? He's being rewarded. So therein lies your problem. First, there is no measurement of performance. It doesn't matter. Secondly, the man who you've put there, the serial killer you've put there, is a reward. He's done the work already, so what do you expect? And the issue is not so much the money, but people are worried that they spend so much money of state resources, they spend poor taxpayers' money, and they get nothing for it.
Yeah, but Ken, okay, let's say it's a reward.
It's a reward.
Now, you're there.
Yes.
While there, you're supposed to deliver.
I've done the work already. When I was calling the radio stations every 3 o'clock every morning, where were you? What are you talking about?
So you go there just to be paid?
When I was waking up at 2 in the morning, getting people to send me airtime, where were you? To call the radio stations.
The company you work for should be profitable.
My friend, I've done the work already. Don't you understand? When I was cooking for the delegates, where were you? Those police stations in my area, there are 25. I went the whole day. I was on my feet from 3 in the morning. Where were you? That is the reality.
But Uncle Ken, does it mean that when we have people like yourself on boards, it still doesn't make any difference?
Oh, I made a lot of difference on all the boards I've made. I've made a lot of difference. But I'm one person, which is also fine. If you take the effort to put the right people in the right places, you're going to make a difference. All the boards I've made, I make a huge difference. I lead. I mean, I don't allow, because I say, look, it's Ken Thompson, is my name, guys, don't come and mess with me. And when I go with the whole Delex team. But for your CEOs who are there, they've done the work. When he was cooking for delegates, where were you? When he met his friend in primary school, where were you?
So let me ask, how much money was in the envelope?
I can assure you that I said, Chairman, I'm not worried. That's all I'm going to tell you. And I thought it was course material.
I asked this because in addition to all the benefits, and yesterday we were going through the long list of benefits that these appointees get. We are also aware of something that is termed unaccountable interest.
Now, which one is your problem? So what exactly is your problem?
I want to know how much.
Oh, please.
How much as a state we are spending on things like this.
It's so good that, some people, for them it's an income. They travel, they're traveling now with 15 days in a month. They're away. Private business, the aircraft is good. At your business class seats are comfortable. They are comfortable. Once you go, they don't want to come back to economy. I want to bring in a first class hotel. And you are paid the expenses of paying, and you say this is money, extra money. What's your problem? But it's your reward.
I want to bring in our guests on the phones. Kofi Bento, this ado about particularly the neutrality allowance. People are kicking against it, but the fact still remains that if you look at the base pay and conditions of your average clog SAG worker, they could be better, couldn't they?
Oh yes, they could be better. But again, you should take what Ken is saying seriously. Are they being paid more than their worth? Are they being paid a value which is higher than what they are delivering us? If we are looking at pay as a reward for work, or as a measure of the value of work, or as compensation for effort and result and outcome, it would be arguable that they are not being overpaid. They are not being underpaid. So to that extent, we have to look at the issue between pay and productivity. But let me emphasize something. Ken said or told us this story and was making it sound light-hearted and like a joke. I have had similar stories which were heartbreaking. And it is more serious than that because, honestly, there are people who, for some of those reasons, just because they have a sense of morality, find it difficult to be in public service. I can tell you that for a fact. The kinds of monies people are spending on useless travel, on per diems, and all these things, and Ken is right, it is seen as a reward. It is making it impossible for some people to accept some of those positions, etc., because it is just unconscionable to be spending poor people's money that way. There are people in Ghana, in Accra, who are being given flats and accommodations after, in dollars. I mean, it's just crazy. We are poor or we are rich. We cannot be both. Okay? And we don't have this situation where we have unending resources that we can spend on everything. And the sad part is that we don't have to show any productivity, any outcomes, any performance for it. And that is the answer to the question also on whether our public service people are underpaid or overpaid or paid enough. What we have to look at is whether they are delivering at the level of their salary. There's a simple way of checking that again. There's something we call in Imani competitor parity. Competitor parity is simply this. Can a private entity do what the public entity is doing for less? If it is so, then that is fine. If you are the passport office and you are issuing forms, people are filling them, they are bringing it back. You are processing those forms and issuing them with passports. Can a private entity perform that business for less money? And if so, then indeed, you are being paid enough. We will get to a day when that will become the basis for privatizing everything. As of now, I do not think that our public services have the levels of efficiency that will support a higher pay. In many places, our public services have better qualified people and they are better paid than the private sector. In almost every sector, in accounting, in services, whatever, you have the best chartered accountants and whatever. In the public services, they are higher qualified than the guys in the private sector. They get cars, they get bungalows, they get travel, and they get good salary. Their colleagues in the private sector do not get that. The average lawyer in the Attorney General's department is paid better than the average lawyer in a private firm. So the question is, are they being paid enough for what output they are delivering? And the question is, yes. In many cases, their output is not commensurate with what they are delivering. And it's not for lack of competence. It's just poor leadership.
So it's for you. It's a question of leadership, and Ken Thompson raised the point of how most of the people who are being put in these positions are not qualified. It's simply some sort of reward for loyalty or reward for doing some work for the party. But it sounds very difficult to believe that in a democracy where we've elected people to solve our problems, they would simply use such key positions as rewards. How is our system and society allowing that to happen?
Well, yes, it is a question of leadership, but it's also a question of the structure that we have built within which we have set that whole concept of leadership. So we have what has been argued as a winner-takes-all constitution, where the president appoints upwards of 4,000 people, and everybody is looking up to that one person called Mr. President to please. So you have this situation where this reward or post for reward situation is very, very possible. And when we drill it down, we are going to get down to what we call the Article 71 and ultimately the winner-takes-all constitution, which makes the president effectively a king. Okay? So I have argued before that if we had a president who was so minded, he can change those things. And I keep saying that President Kufuor appointed people from outside his party. He allowed other people to weigh into his government. So if we want, we can actually do better. But as it is, and Ken was right, you have so many people to thank after you have done an election. And how do they thank them? They thank them with these positions. So we can argue till we are blue, but at the end of the day, it will come down to doing something about our constitution. In the meantime, what we all need to appreciate as leaders in this country is that if we don't do something about it, we are risking this democracy. And one day when the anger hits the leg, you are going to have a situation where people are just going to erupt. Because if you see some of the salaries and now you see some of the allowances that people are taking, it just doesn't make sense. It is obscene. It is not the kind of thing that people will do if they are sensitive and they have public service at heart. We are not saying people should suffer penury because they are in public service. But are they really entitled to all of that? What people must understand is this. Your salary is first and foremost what you get paid for what you do. We don't owe you a living. And if you don't think that your salary is good enough, get a new job. Now, all these allowances and etc., if you take, for instance, this neutrality allowance we are talking about, the neutrality thing is a requirement. It is something that you are required to observe as part of the job. It's a condition precedent. It is something that you need to appreciate and know before you come into the job. It is not something we are begging you to do for which you are going to lose something and for which we have to compensate you. And indeed, it must be clear that if you do not observe those things that are precedent conditions for your work, you should lose the job. So people need to get these, understanding. But you have a situation where it goes back to leadership. These things are used, one, as a reward or effectively as a bribe. Okay? So it's a convoluted arrangement, but at the end of the day, we should make this clear. Our civil servants are not being paid beyond the levels of productivity that they give us. And a day is going to come when one bold leader is going to place whatever they are doing in front of a private entity or a series of private entities. And the private entities are going to do them well, cheaper. Okay? So we need to start looking at this competitor parity thing and start looking at productivity and start looking at output and outcomes and start appreciating that ultimately your salary is what you give us in terms of value. And then we take a piece of it and we give back to you, and then we retain the rest for the country. We have civil and public servants, government payroll, people, about 600,000 people, less than 1 million, 600,000, out of a population of 30-something million. And we have only these 600,000 people, maximum 1 million people, spending all our tax money, about 80% of our tax money. 30 million people are just paying for 1 million people. And it's just not right. And everybody comes and they don't do anything about it. A day is going to come when we will lose the opportunity to do something about it because people are just going to get so angry, they will revolt. And that is how we are risking this democracy. We need to be careful.
Now let me bring in, Dr. Samonomaya Simpson, because you've been doing lots of work about, public enterprises and all of that. Kofi makes the point that people should be rewarded based on their productivity. How do we go about this, particularly in the public sector?
Right. Winston, let me say that there are examples all over the world that, we could emulate. It boils down to, as my colleagues have already indicated, leadership. And maybe let me also wedge into the conversation of the people we appoint as CEOs, people we appoint onto boards. Let me admit that though I do agree with the fact that yes, some get onto the board who are not qualified. There are also people who are very, very qualified because they have rich private sector experience, in fact, impeccable results in their private practice and so on and so forth. But the question is that what happens when they get onto the SOEs, the public institutions? What happens? That is where we need to perhaps spend some time, to investigate. Yes, it could be something else to do with party financing. The person may have, pushed in so much money getting a particular party to get into government. And what happened is that, well, this is the opportunity for me to recoup my initial capital. So there are actually several issues because I would say that once we get the leadership right, it's leadership as in, let's say, board putting pressure on the CEO also making sure that they cascade whatever KPIs, are given to the CEO. They are cascaded down, and everyone will be seen to be working. Okay. Let me share with you some of the best practices, elsewhere. So what will happen is that there's a corporate target, corporate objectives. This is what we want to achieve, ABC. So what happens is that this particular corporate target is actually cascaded, broken down. So you have the corporate one, you have the unit one, you have the departmental, and this trickles down to the individual. So there wouldn't be the case where somebody will come to work and say that, look, I don't have anything to do. That can only be done if we have these things trickling down to the bottom. Let me also add that the issue about, look, we are paying them too much, we are paying them too less. I also think we perhaps also confusing a number of things where we are treating all the SOEs the same. They are not the same. Okay. Though we have subvented and non-subvented. If you look at the Subvention Agency Act, it brings these categories. We have those who are not, let me say, literally on their own in terms of financing, paying salaries, goods and services, and so on and so forth. There are those who are also depending on the state for everything. So the issue is that why should the compensations be the same? Certainly that will not be the same. I want to add that those who are actually not serving, those that have been established for purposes of generating income, profit, it's important that we connect their compensation to these deliverables. Because if they are not delivering, why should they be giving them all these perks? Let's look at, again, CEOs. Elsewhere, you have CEOs who are under contract. They are contract. If you don't deliver, why not? You are disposed of. But what do we see? CEOs are assured, board members are assured that they're going to be in power, they are going to be around for at least a minimum of 4 years when their party will be in government. So what is going to happen? They are going to take decisions that will not inure to the benefits of the organization and the country at large. But of course, they're going to pursue what we call the tunnel vision, objectives. So I think that we can do a lot more. First of all, as I indicated, yes, CEO need to have some KPI contract, and once these things are there, what will happen is that they'll be cascaded down and everyone will be assessed and we paid based on whatever it is that, they are able to achieve.
Now, you talk about those, entities or SOEs that are profit-making and those that are not. And you've said that we actually, put all of it together. Let me get a clarification here. Are you saying that we should have a different salary structure or regime for the profit-making SOEs and another for the non-profit SOEs?
All right. That is something that we could explore. Because look, whether we like it or not, human beings are motivated. When they know that, look, I'm going to get this reward by working so hard. So I think it's something that we could consider. So what will happen is that we'll have what we call the fixed elements that may cut across. They bring in the variable element. The variable element has to do with where you do ABC, you get this kind of reward, which I believe is something that can be discussed. Investigated. Then we implement. So I think that is something that we could consider. And as I said, it happens in the private sector. The bonus regime, performance incentive, regime, they are all there, and it's something that we could, explore and make sure that we adapt something that will meet our context. Yes.
Mr. Simpson, I want to take you back to a paper that you wrote, which started 2010, ended in 2012, where you were looking at state-owned enterprises. In fact, the results of that paper indicated that state-owned enterprises exhibit significant weaknesses in the areas of board performance evaluation, criteria for board appointments, the balance of executive directors and non-executive directors, and other board characteristics, indicating a departure from general practices. 2012, this is 2022, and the issues are the same. Why aren't we moving forward?
Mama B, let me say that it is like, let's say, the Israelites moving away from Egypt to the promised land. We are wandering in the wilderness. A journey that we could make few days, we are still wandering in the wilderness. As I said, we need individuals and persons who are interested in the national good. These are there. These papers have been, as you said, many years ago, but they are still in a public space. Let me also say that some of these things that we are raising, I personally believe our leaders know. I personally believe they know. So the question is that, why are they not doing it? Why are they not doing it? I could only speculate that in the midst of this confusion, some people are benefiting. Because I believe if you really want to get things done, look, I do say that we sometimes bring some of these Bretton Woods institutions in there to come and do A, B, C, D. Look, their prescriptions are based on our own suggestions, are based on research that we have done. Colleagues at the business school, the university, elsewhere have done. Recommendations are based on this. And they are then given to our own people, and nothing seems to be happening. So I think we need to look at, my colleagues have said, a lot of behavioral issues, a lot of institutional issues, and these things are hidden. I'm happy we are discussing this. And in fact, one author discussed some of these conversations as what we call the iceberg, where we see the laws, the formal structures in there, and they look so beautiful. But get below the water, you see how rooted the informal structure, the conventions are, the behavioral issues are there, the hindrances, then the impediments, the opportunisms, all these things in there. And I think it's problematic. I'm happy we are discussing this, and I really hope that we could do a lot more. Let me put in something small that it happens elsewhere. And I'm also from some of my work. I noticed that in the past, when our SOEs were doing quite well, what they were doing, what we call the creation of the epistemic community. This is where we have, the network of knowledgeable, experienced, people, different skill sets. You have people who are the technical. We have people who have the experience. And what was happening is that they are there, and the universities, were serving that particular purpose. So state-owned enterprise has been established. What happened is that let's get to this community. Look, Vice Chancellor, we need A, B, C with these skill sets. Dean, we need A, B, C with this particular skill sets. The question is that people consider that as an opportunity to be able to offer their service, to contribute towards the nation. So they were bringing their expertise, and of course they were paid well, for their time. But what do we see now? I guess the best could be doing is maybe we are called like this and we share our opinion and many other stuff. So I believe, as I said, we know the answers, right, but we need the willpower, we need the courage and the willingness to make things work.
I believe Kofi Bentel has a quick intervention on this matter before we move on. Kofi, do we have you on the line? Right. I think we have to reconnect with Kofi Bentil. He wanted to say something quick about this one. Listen, we've still got a lot to talk about with our guests this morning, Kofi Bentil of Imani, Ken Thompson of Dalex Finance, and Dr. Simpson of the University of Ghana Business School. I think Kofi Bentil is on the line now for that intervention.
Hello?
Yes,
So
yes,
do you
please
hear
go
me?
ahead. Yeah,
Do you hear me?
we can hear you, yes.
Good. Okay. So I think the point must be underlined that some of the people who are running these state-owned enterprises right now do not lack the necessary qualifications or capabilities. They just are put in a system where there is a culture and it is just difficult to break the mold. How do you know that? You know that first because, one, they will definitely not be spending money the way they are spending if it was not state-owned or it was not a government-owned business, if it was their private business. Secondly, you cannot be consistently making losses and not be making any changes. Then you have a situation where, if you take Tomorrow Refinery, for instance, we are taking tax money and giving it to them consistently in millions of dollars every year. And every year they come back and tell us that they have lost the money and nothing really changes. Then you have SOUs who are supposedly making losses. Meanwhile, you look at their salaries, you look at the kind of emoluments you are paying the leaders there, and they are more than their counterparts in the private sector. Now, the losses that they are making are not real losses. These constitute the monies they've given out, the kinds of perks they've given out, the kinds of things they've given to their friends in government, and the instructions they've received, etc. The point I'm trying to make is that these SOEs are not running on plain and pure corporate governance principles for the purpose of profit making. We need to be clear. It is not a lack of competence. We can go and bring whoever has any degree on that. They are basically financing what their political leaders and heads are asking them to do. The losses are not real. The losses constitute what they are giving to their political friends, etc. And we are funding them with tax money year after year. We need to get to the point where we say it is not fair to be taxing poor people and be giving it to rich people for no work done. Example, Tamale Refinery. Example, all the 15 or so SOUs that did not make a profit, where others who were less endowed were making a profit. So it is not a difficult situation governance or leadership per se cannot solve.
Right.
The problem is that they are being made to do these things simply because they can rest on government and taxpayer money to continue to fund them to misperform, underperform, or just do their political crony work. We need to appreciate that so that we don't go fighting and trying to find the wrong solutions.
Right. A quick one from Ken Thompson on this idea of tailoring the packages to the type of institution that the CEO is here to run.
First, what I'd say is that we should not discount the how important leadership is, and I insist again that the house of anger are more to do with the lack of correlation between what people are paid and what they perform, the performance on the job, because there's no correlation. Okay, but I mean, I'll leave the academics and the rest to talk about all those things that need to be done, and we just got to keep talking. Everybody got to keep talking until we get to the point where we're happy with what you're doing. But I believe in small steps that lead to big changes. Small steps. For example, in my area, right in front of my house, they've been building culverts. Is it not culverts? Gutters.
Drains. Yeah.
Drains. It's an absolute mess. I don't know who the contractor is. I don't know how much it costs. I don't know who to call to complain. Even if a simple leaflet had been produced and distributed in the neighborhood, I can assure you would get better service, and that man at the top, who was a serial caller, whoever he is, I'm used as an example, or who provide the food, will start to perform because he has the competence to perform. A simple leaflet. Come and look in my area. It's an absolute mess. I don't know who to complain to, and with a lot of quotes, if at my level, I don't know who to call. Can you imagine what millions and millions of Ghanaians are going through every day? And all it will take is just tell me who the contractor is, how much they've been paid, what they're expected to do, and I can assure you would have got a first-class job. But I'm not expecting this to happen overnight. We're going to talk about it until the change happens. Change doesn't happen because you will it. Change happens because people make it happen. And they say, when you start getting tired of saying something, that's when people begin to listen. We are not going to stop talking. It's not right. It's not about the money. It's about performance.
Right. We're going to take a quick break. Our conversation with Kofi Bentil, Ken Thompson, and our guest from the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Samuel Nanayao Simpson, continues. Now, I'm curious. I want to know what they think about the very specific issue of neutrality allowance. We'll find out when we come back.
Mavis, this your son. He'll be a football star. When does he train? What time does he even wake up?
Breakfast time. No, he wakes up earlier, but when I give him Milo with breakfast, that's when I see that the champion in him is awake.
Don't just wake up your child, wake up the champion in him. Let Milo with Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa help wake up the champion in your child every day. Milo, energy to go further. Milo! This advert is FDA approved. Say donut, 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 donut. Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D till no not now. Oh, malaria chill. Oh, popo. What do you do? I want you. No not. A damako. No not. A damienu. No not. A damiensa. No not. No not. Scatter malaria. Lonat, it is scatter malaria.
A quality product from Blaze GVS Pharma. Yenshishemu hu se malaria wa umujam ansana wanum Lonat. Na nam yensearch na malaria no daso wo hwa ko hu dokota.
This advert is FDA approved. Where will you be on the 6th and 7th of May when all the stars in GH gather at the Grand Arena to honor the best acts and songs of 2021?
Shouts to anybody where they support me.
I'm a little emotional. This is pretty huge, so thank you guys so much.
The 23rd Vodafone Ghana Music Awards is back with a bang. The fans, the music, the fashion, and all the drama that makes the VGMAs the nation's biggest music weekend.
And bend over. I will show you money.
It's 2 days of fireworks at the Grand Arena on 6th and 7th May, 8 p.m. each night. Book your tickets now on our ticket hotline 050-1288-520. The 23rd VGMAs for the people, the culture, the music. Produced by Charterhouse with support from TV3, DSTV, Twitter, MTV Base, Joy FM, and sponsored by Vodafone. Further together.
Why do you allow coughs, cold, and flu to ruin your happiness? You need Summerlin Cough Syrup. Summerlin Cough Syrup will relieve you and your family from coughs, cold, and flu. Summerlin offers a whole range that provide relief for the entire family. Insist on your Summerlin in pharmacies and licensed chemical shops. Summerlin Cough Syrup from Danex Itin Starwin PLC. If symptoms persist after 48 hours, consult a physician. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Charlie, so it's actually raining and we can't hear any sound. As for this your house, when it's raining, no sound. When the sun is up, the interior is cool. What roof are you using?
They use Ico roofing shingles from Interface Limited. Long lasting and beautiful.
Ico roofing shingles. We all for move to Interface and get this Ico roofing shingles.
Interface Limited is the leading supplier and installer of finishing input materials for the building and construction industry in Ghana. Call us on 0274-999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook Interface Limited GH. Instagram interface.limited.
Do you need money to start a business?
Do you need money to expand your business? Are you a government or private sector worker in need of money to sort out emergencies? Do you need working capital loan? Or you are in need of an emergency loan? Well, Quick Credit will loan you money so you can repay in flexible terms. It's collateral-free loan with no susu, no savings, no account opening nor deposit wahala. You just need to be a Ghanaian with your Ghana card. Quick Credit covers all forms of loans, and so you have no excuse not to work this 2022 and beyond. Call Quick Credit on 030-2200-390 or 059-692-0833. Take note that we do not give loans via the internet. Beware of scammers. We are regulated and licensed by Bank of Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. Quick Credit, lending made simple.
Nice. Schweppes Citrus, the ultimate citrus experience.
Schweppes. What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices?
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs. Your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life Insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glycolife, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Wow, I just paid my taxes right now. Since they started this pay from anywhere, it has become easier, cra.
Easy, cra. Now nobody has an excuse. So long journey no ye jai.
Tax, why?
Effie, don't tell me you have not been paying taxes, so.
No, I'm tired of paying.
Don't be. It's the taxes we pay that government will use to improve the markets and to build the nation. Oh,
I don't know. It just takes your whole day.
Hey, you mean you have been going to the GRA office?
Effie, unye current cra. Come and join us. So I'm not paying taxes, no.
Pay your taxes online, at the bank, or from your phone. Together, we can build a great nation. GRA.
The feeling of being the champion of the famous childhood game, Pilolo, is like knowing a secret that no one knows and using it to your advantage. That is the feeling of being on Ghana's favorite network and getting your money's worth. With Airtel Tigo, you can get exciting tailor-made products and services that work for you. Dial *111#. Select option 1 for big-time data to enjoy data that doesn't expire, and option 4 for Sika Koko to enjoy huge data at little cost.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
It's the most action-packed breakfast show in town. The hottest music, the best giveaways, the great interviews, and all the laughter and fun you can imagine. Don't miss the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. It's the best breakfast show in town.
It is indeed. You're welcome back to it. Okay, now we're talking about how we pay those who work for the state, particularly the CEOs of state-owned enterprises. We'll come back to that in a minute. But I want us to, for a minute, talk about others, civil servants, public servants who work for the state. They've been agitating. Their pay is not sufficient for them, they claim. Even though, according to Kofi Bentil at least, they are not being underpaid. Their performance does not warrant, the amounts of money that they are requesting, according to Kofi Bentil. But I'm interested in one particular thing. CLOGSAG is on strike because they want to be paid a neutrality allowance. This is something that they have already agreed with government. They started calling for it in 2019, and in 2022, January, the government of Ghana agreed to pay them a neutrality allowance. They said they'll start paying in March. We're in April. They haven't started paying. Clogsac is now on strike because of it. We've also heard TUC claiming that actually that allowance should be paid to every worker of government. Let's get the thoughts of our guests on this really quickly before we come back to the state-owned enterprise CEOs. Mr. Thompson, we'll start with you. Neutrality allowance?
I think that the word neutrality allowance is a red herring. I mean, really, it's a red herring. It's just to stop going on about neutrality allowance. From my understanding, there was an agreement with government. Everybody signed it. And then at some point, they decided that, what should we call it? And a suggestion was made that called neutrality allowance. That is not the issue. So it's a red herring, and you should get off the radar. The thing is to get our public sector working as efficiently as we want it to be. The challenge is that, the public servants, they pay the salaries. They hand out the contracts. They can probably see that there's some people in the public service that earn more than they do. In any case, the government hasn't come out to say he hasn't got cash until recently. So everybody's looking for their pound of flesh. It's as simple as that. They are not stupid. I mean, why are we going around in circles over this thing? It's just, you've agreed. You agreed with me sometime last year that you pay me a certain thing. We called that name. Now when it's time to pay, you said, I'm not going to pay it. So for me, that's the issue. And I think that to get the public sector perform as opposed to what we want, there are very, very, very simple things that we can do to start to get to perform. It's whether we're ready to do it. And I give one example, and I've said that let's not stop talking, because they can't do it by themselves. They can't do it by themselves. The people that were not appointed by themselves, it's the people that are appointed to run the country that appointed them there. And now you can't turn around and say that we're spending over 52% of our income on them. I mean, whose fault is it? And the people in the public sector, they are Ghanaians. They are brothers and our sisters and our cousins, our uncles. They're Ghanaians just like us. So let's work with this together. We've got to work with them. We've got to talk and get this done. It's our problem. It's not their problem. It's our problem together.
You say that the name is a red herring, and you're probably right. But the rationale given for this allowance, according to the Deputy Employment Minister, is that they want to compensate Clogsac members for the fact that they can't do partisan politics.
I don't know the detail, but I don't think so. It was signed. I mean, Clogsac, come on. And they can't be that, civil servants. It makes you think as if the people they don't go to the same schools as us. You think a union will go and sign to say that pay us a neutrality allowance? Who would do that? Okay. Let's not do that. Who would do that? No, think about it. But who would do that?
It sounds preposterous.
I mean, it's preposterous in the extreme. And let's treat it like that.
But we're told that that's what happened.
Oh, please. It's preposterous in the extreme. I mean, really. Think about it. Who would do that? I don't know the detail, but nobody would do that. My 15-year-old kid won't do that. My 10-year-old won't do that. Pay me. I hold a gun to your head and say, pay me a neutrality allowance. I mean, why would I do that? I mean, surely. Let's deal with the issues dispassionately. Let's not, throw in things that, cloud the world, but don't achieve much. Because, I mean, once you start to deal with someone like that, you start to lose credit. And then when you start to go to them for something which you want to really make a difference, you've lost all your credit.
Well, I mean, we're going with what the Deputy Minister
said. That's what he said. But I don't know the detail, but I doubt that very much.
Okay, Kobe Bento, neutrality allowance?
I agree with Ken to an extent that the name is a red herring. It just distracts from the substance of the matter. But my brother Ken, people actually had that discussion. They signed up on it. And they actually took it from a Supreme Court ruling. But you and I understand that the issue is not about neutrality. The issue is about they getting more pay. Now, the unwritten stuff, the subliminal issues here are that these civil servants have an eye into how much money is flowing through the system, how much of it is being wasted, how much of it is being stolen, how much of it is going to all kinds of funny places. And they think they want, I don't want to call it their pound of flesh, but they think they are entitled to a piece of that action. So we can call it whatever we want to call it, but I think the fundamental issues, and you are right, they are brothers and sisters, we talk to them all the time. They want more pay, they believe they are entitled to more. They see these politicians come in, some of them are their friends, they just turn around and went to, be an MP. In 4 years they come and their fortunes change. So they want a piece of that action. Whatever they call it, they want more money. The question is, can this state afford that? I think the civil servants themselves appreciate to a certain point that we cannot afford it as a nation, properly so said. But they also see that even though as a nation, properly so said, we cannot afford it, they see people who come to the same ministries and generate incomprehensible wealth in 4 years. And so they think that, well, if that is possible, then we should be able to also get our piece of that action. So we can talk about the name, but there is a deeper issue that has to be dealt with. And I think I also have to clarify this point about the issue of productivity and competence. I need to be clear about this. Our civil servants are not inherently incompetent. I'm not saying that, and I don't want to offend anybody by saying that. I have worked with some of them in other places. They are extremely capable. And there are times when you work with them and they do so much more. I earlier said that they tend to be more qualified than the guys in the private sector. So it is not that they are incompetent. It is just that they are set in systems which clip their ability to perform. So essentially, they are not able to deliver what potentially they could deliver. And so we don't get the outcomes and outputs that we want, by which we can pay them more. So nobody should say that I'm saying our civil servants are incompetent per se. I'm saying that they are incapable because of the systems they are within, delivering sufficiently to warrant a higher pay. All that being said, must we pay a neutrality allowance or not? No, we must not. That will open the proverbial floodgates. Because why don't we pay police for neutrality? Why don't we pay teachers? Why don't we pay anybody else? And in any case, nobody should pay anybody for not going into politics. Technically, there is nothing stopping a civil servant from going into politics. All we are saying is that your job requires that you operate in a certain way and avoid partisan considerations in the execution of your business. If you want to include those things, please resign. A surgeon cannot go to work drunk. He may like his beer, he may like his wine, but he cannot go to work drunk. He cannot ask to be paid for not drinking. He can drink on weekends, or if he wants to drink every day, he will have to stop being a surgeon. So this neutrality thing, yes, it's a red herring, but we need to also appreciate that we don't have to pay people for it. We pay people for things that they legitimately lose as a result of the work they do. We don't pay them for things that they must not do. So I don't think we should discuss that at length, but we should not pay anybody a neutrality allowance. I think what we need to discuss is how do we remunerate our public service and civil service people better.
Right.
I have said already that I think already we should be thinking about productivity, and we are thinking about productivity. Indeed, what we are paying is not too little.
Okay.
I have also said they have capabilities that we are not tapping because of the leadership and the structure that we have put them in. We need to fix that so that we can get their full potential. Okay. We have, I think, a public service reform department or something like that. But I know we've gotten some money from the World Bank to do public and civil service reform. I think the most important job they have to do in that place is what we call a competitor parity program. And I just want to explain it as one of the solutions that we should be working towards. In simple terms, there is nothing the public or civil service is doing, whether they are a ministry or they are a hospital or they are a department, that the private sector cannot do with proper regulation. And I'm not saying we should privatize everything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if we want to reform our civil and public services and we want to pay them more, the public sector reform program also should simply put before each civil and public service office what the private sector...
Hello? Hello? I think we're having some difficulty with the line there with Mr. Kofi Bento. We'll refine that line and get him back to complete his thoughts. But this is how I'd like us to wrap up. We've got just a couple of minutes to go. Let's wrap up on the issue of the SOEs and their CEOs. It occurs to me that even though everybody has raised the issue of performance not matching remuneration, it occurs to me that all these SOEs have performance contracts. It's a new thing that was introduced a few years ago. There is a performance contract. They've signed it. It includes KPIs on their financials, on their management, their productivity, investments, their strategy. They are supposed to be measured and assessed on all these things. So really, what is the problem here? Is it that they are assessed, they fall short and are still paid, or are we just not assessing them well enough?
I don't know. I mean, there's what you put on paper and what you actually do. And if they have these things, then it's up to us to ensure that they're implemented, that we all have to do that. It's like the procurement laws. I mean, you can write whatever procurement laws you like, but in the end, it becomes extortion, because then you restrict the procurement with using the same laws to ensure that only your preferred people get the contracts. So having it in writing really is only the first step. It's now execution. That's what matters. And I can remember, I can't remember any state-owned enterprise CEO who has been sacked for performance. I mean, I know people that have been asked to, fall on their sword or have been axed, but nobody said it was got anything to do with performance. And I think that my challenge a lot of times is that people forget that it's taxpayers' money, and we have a right to know. It's taxpayers' money. But of course, I mean, what's the incentive for the people that spend taxpayers' money to let us know what they're doing? It's up to us to make sure they do it. We've got to keep talking. We won't stop talking. We have to keep talking.
Thank you.
It's taxpayers' money.
Indeed.
We won't stop talking.
Right. Kofi Bentel, I'll leave the final thought to you on this. State-owned enterprises, they do have, evaluation plans. They have performance contracts. Is it that they are failing these evaluations and we're still paying them? Or are we just failing to evaluate them properly?
It's actually both. Our leaders do not pay a price for continuing to use our state-owned enterprises as an extension of their personal resources. So they use it to reward their friends. When some people need favors, they use it to give them jobs. When they need to pass a contract to another friend, they use them to do these things. So we have set up a structure where these state-owned enterprises have become an extension of the people in power, and they use it to reward their friends and cronies and other people, and they don't pay a price for that. We should get to a point where, and if we strike it, it's going to go back into our constitution, but we should get to a point where companies that are state-owned, tax-funded, have an existential red line, where by law, if, for instance, you make losses consistently 3 times, or the state has to invest X amount of money in you more than twice, you are shut down or you are absolutely privatized. The state must not continue to put money in these institutions ad infinitum, regardless of the outcome. We should stop somewhere. We are a poor country. We should behave like that until we become a more wealthy country. We should not be paying people to go for holidays outside. If, for instance, the state has to pay for somebody to take a holiday, state money must pay for holidays in Ghana. These specs must make sense.
Right.
Okay, so we can do those things. And if we leave it to just our leadership, given the structure that we have, we won't fix it. We need to fix it fundamentally. It will start with the Constitution all the way.
I want to say thank you to Kofi Bentel, who is, of course, a lawyer and Senior Vice President of Imani Africa. Also, thanks to Dr. Samuel Nanayao Simpson, Senior Lecturer, Department of Accounting, University of Ghana Business School. Unfortunately, we lost the connection with him a bit earlier in the conversation. In the studio with us, Ken Thompson, still here with us. He is, of course, CEO of Dalex Finance, chartered accountant and thought leader on business and economic matters. It's time to bring you into the conversation. I'd love to know what you are thinking about all this. We started this conversation about the SOEs and their packages yesterday. Didn't have a chance to hear from you. Let's do that now. Let's hear your thoughts on it. Neutrality allowance is also an issue. The general idea of how we pay our public sector workers. TUC says they should also get the neutrality allowance. What do you think about that? Call us 0302 216 541 or 055 1111 997. Okay, so 0302 216 541 or 055 1111 997. Call us now. So it's fascinating stuff here.
I think we have our first caller. Claude
already?
From Tema. Yes.
Good. Good morning, Claude.
Good morning, Kojo.
Thanks for calling.
Yes. Kojo, since morning, I think we are trying to treat the signs and symptoms of the problem and not the cause. It started with your discussion on education, treating signs and symptoms. And this one, too, we are looking at signs and symptoms. When you come to the civil service, everybody thinks it's a jungle. But at the beginning of every year for civil servants, there's targets that are set, that are appraised mid-year, and at the end of the year. There are a lot of civil servants who are doing a lot of work, which you cannot quantify in the terms of money. But the impact on the health of people, the productivity of private sector, you cannot quantify that easily. So we don't have to take the civil service as a jungle. The other issue is about the CEOs and the board heads and those things. I think it's gotten to a time that the positions will have to be advertised. We don't need to put political people there to just gratify them for their service they've rendered. Even if you are in the party, then you apply. If you have the competence, you have the relevant qualifications, you are appointed. And so we get to the bottom of it. We'll be putting round pegs in square holes, and that doesn't help the economy.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claude. Thank you very much. Let's go to Sakaman. Hello, George.
Hello, good morning, Kwame.
Good morning, George.
Kojo, it's interesting, and that's a very good topic you've raised since yesterday. I've been following you. Kojo, can't we have a way where we have a better payment structure to streamline all these anomalies? Can't we? You see, our politicians are not helping us. And the most interesting is that they are the people who make the laws. They make the laws, they implement the laws. And they are the very people who appoint the people to the courts and those things. We need a whole new structure. And like Mr. Ken Thompson is saying, you see, to change the structure is difficult because those who are benefiting will not agree. Structural change. We must be very careful in this country because it will come to a time where people, because some of us have taught. I've taught for 22 years now. And I tell you, if you see some allowances they give teachers, you laugh. Sometimes you fill a whole lot of forms. You send it to office, you not get the allowance. And to office 4 years. I don't want to mention it. I'm a Krobo. There is a boy who happened to be a party affiliate. If I tell you the houses the guy is putting on, you'll be shocked. You marveled. You just marveled. Just like that. Man. Have a good morning.
Have a good morning, George. John is in Ridge. Hi, John. Good morning.
Yeah, Kojo, how are you doing?
Not bad, my brother.
Kojo, I'm a civil servant, okay?
Yeah.
I have worked for more than 27 years. Do you know that my basic pay is not up to 4,000? Please, Kojo, I like the analysis that report Samson Ladi and Yeni brought up over the weekend.
Yeah.
Those big men, what they take, including foreign travel allowance. I am very happy Uncle Kwamna Thompson is in your studio. Ask him, the people who come for loan from him. They are civil servants and teachers. These are people who are suffering. The big men, do they go to him for loans? These are people who are putting them, and they are getting, look, they get clothing allowance. Who walks to the office without clothing on him? I mean, I'm confused. You go to work and you are thinking of what your school fees. You cannot pay your children's school fees because you are a civil servant. And somebody is coming to tell us, look, we didn't go for that thing, neutrality allowance. We said the structure we have been putting on is bogus, and that we need a new structure. That is what we want him for. But they said in the interim, we are giving you this. Please correct that thing. We didn't say we are going for a neutrality allowance. We are also Ghanaians. I also vote. I have the people I also like politically. We didn't say so. We are saying that we are worse off. We are saying we are worse off the ladder. So put us in a better place. They say no, we are not going to. This thing has not been factored in the budget for now. So we are going to give you that allowance. And this thing has become this thing in public media.
Interesting. So your suggestion is that actually it was government that suggested the neutrality allowance.
Very well. Very well.
Interesting.
It was government. And I hope Bampado should come out immediately and then clarify issues.
Right.
Bampado should come out out and clarify issues. We are suffering. If you are a civil servant, you are cursed. In Ghana, you have to go for loans to live. You have to go for loans to live. What is the meaning of this? The people who have been voted to power because they are getting big time money, they don't care about anybody. Kojo, I want you to do this research for me. Come to Controller and Accountant General, ask for payroll results, and check, do the disaggregation and see who are taking what. Article 71 people, they are taking the chunk of money in Ghana. Why is it so? Do that work, do that research, and you see what I'm talking about. Right. If you're a civil servant or you're a teacher, you are cursed. Can we all work in Bank of Ghana? Can we all work in SLIT? Can we all work in VRA?
Thank you, John. Thanks very much. Samuel is in Kumasi. Hi, Samuel. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, my brother. This is very pathetic. Hearing that the Closak people are demanding this allowance. And I would say it's not their fault. It is the minister who accepted to pay that allowance to them. That ought to be blamed. Isn't it true that Ghana here, our revenue we receive, almost 70% is used to pay civil servants and politicians. So every year we have to go out and beg for loans we don't need. Akufo-Addo said something during his electioneering in 2016 that we are sitting on money, yet we feel very hungry. That statement is true. But the money that we are sitting on, how are we able to make proper use of the money? It is going down the drain, waste. I think it is about time the CSOs, they put themselves together and rise against allowances of this nature. And also the Article 71 office holders. I think it is about time. They should leave everything and focus on these two only, allowances and Article 71 office holders. It will save the nation several billions of cedis. Somebody made a suggestion that if any government official wants to go out for, let's say, a visit or what, he should go by his own money. That should be legalized and made law.
Right.
Politicians, they just get up. Because the monies are there, they begin to abuse the money. The current situation we find ourselves in, that our economy is deeply struggling, is as a result of all these unnecessary allowances paid out to people who don't deserve it.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, Samuel. Regards to everyone in Kumasi listening to Love FM. Let's take one more call. Let's talk to Papa Ansa in Latte. Papa Ansa, good morning. Hey, Papa.
Okonfu, how are you?
I'm very well, my brother. Yourself?
Good morning to your panelists and everyone, and to historian Amwa.
Ancestor Amwa. Yes.
You know, Okonfu, this issue of civil servants calling for more money is as a result of our own politicians. For instance, where you are sitting now, are you telling me in 4 years' time you get 4 billion as your ex-gratia?
Hey, how?
Tell me, you see,
one dog.
Politicians, like they've taken Ghana like their own, forgetting that in 4 years' time they will go out, they will get ex-gratia. Meanwhile, the civil servant, my auntie was a nurse. She worked for 40 years. Do you know how much she got?
Tell me.
30,000. How can 30,000 build a 2-bedroom house? Meanwhile, we have politicians within our parliamentarians within 4 years, 4 billion. And you see, sometimes the committee that they set, that they will come and speak big English, and they will lie to us. Chief executive officer is taking credit around 10,000, and civil servant is begging for money. Why are you so wicked? Our roads are no good. You take money from us, then you squeeze us, and you think God will not punish you people. Thank you.
Thank you for calling us, Papa Ansa. Thanks to all of you who called us. We appreciate it. In fact, I kept Uncle Ken just in case there were any questions for him, but it seems everyone agrees with you. So again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. There's more to come on the Super Morning Show. Our friends from Webster University have some very interesting information for you. That and more when we come back from these messages.
Say donut, 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 donut.
Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D till no not now. Oh, malaria chill. Oh, popo. What really do? I want the num lonat. A dabako. Num lonat. A damien no. Num lonat. A damiensa. Num lonat. No. Lonat scatter malaria. Lonat, it is scatter malaria.
A quality product from Blaze GVS Pharma.